How y'all doing? In this video I'm going to show you how to manually shift a 4L60E for under $10. No joke. Here's how simple it is. You could do one or two things. Well, you can do a bunch of things. I mean, the world is full of smart people, but this is a solution that I came up with. Okay, you spend like $600 on that, and then you got to buy the wiring harness and stuff for it, which is like another $150. And then you get to the racetrack and your little hot rod and your 427 cubic inch small block with the blower on top slips the transmission a little bit. This thing gets angry, doesn't want to shift. It wants to go into like safe mode or something. And what it was is it would never go into third gear. Didn't matter what you did, how you programmed it, how many times you reset the TPS, it didn't matter. It wouldn't go into third gear. So I got aggravated and came up with my own setup. And this right here is all it takes. 3 wires. That's all it takes to shift a 4L60E, full manual, engine braking and everything, and you'll have torque converter clutch whenever you want to turn it on. Whatever gear you want to go in, it'll go into that gear. If you put it in 4th gear and take off from a dead stop in 4th gear, it's in 4th gear. It ain't going to shift itself. Whatever gear you tell it to be in, that's what gear it's in. Let me show you how this works. Take all these wires right here, you cut them off, and you obviously heat shrink the ends of them or tape them, do something. You got one power wire that goes to a 10 amp fuse, one power wire. You got one wire right here for the torque converter clutch. That's your lockup clutch. This goes to ground, not power. This goes to ground whenever you want to turn on the torque converter clutch. You have one wire for shift solenoid A. This goes to ground whenever you want to turn on first gear. It's as simple as that. You run a micro switch right here. When you bring it down in first gear, it hits that micro switch. So that's first gear wired to the transmission, 4th gear wired to the transmission, but you're in manual mode. You know, it couldn't be any simpler. Okay, now you've seen how that works. When you pull the transmission down in first gear, it activates the micro switch. What that does, that energizes this coil, or the solenoid for A solenoid. Well, it grounds it. You're switching to ground. You put this wire on your micro switch, the other side of the micro switch, right to ground. And the torque converter clutch, same way. You run this wire to your switch, and then the other side of the switch to ground, and then you have your 110 amp power fuse. That's all you need. Every gear, engine braking, everything, with 3 wires, less than $10 worth of parts. I mean, it's nothing. You know, 10 amp fuse, 2 switches. That's all you need, and it's as simple as that. And it saves you a whole bunch of money. And the reason I put that in here is because I'd already bought it for the S10. It didn't work the way I wanted it to. This is actually the transmission out of the S10. Still got the 3500 stall on it. So that might have been part of the reason that thing wasn't happy, is because I had a stall converter, because it was always sensing transmission slippage, and all these error codes are popping up all the time. Every time I floored it, I'd have like a list of error codes on there. And the transmission's obviously fine, because I'm still using it, still driving it, still shifts fine. But I mean, even in this, I don't have every gear. That's what I'm doing right now, actually, is getting ready to start modifying my setup here. So I got all my gears and it shifts like I want it to. But it's ridiculous. You spend a whole bunch of money on something and it don't do what you want it to. I just want it to be in whatever gear that I put the shifter in. It's as simple as that. I mean, yes, it'll be full line pressure all the time. No, it doesn't seem to hurt anything, because I've did this to a few different vehicles, and yeah, totally fine. Put a lot of miles on them. So yeah, so that's how easy it is to shift a 4L60E transmission, and you can do the same with a 4L80E or any of the transmissions that shift like this. You can wire them up just like that with one little micro switch, and have full manual control. So yeah, hope y'all learned something from that. If you're trying to save a roughly $600-700, depending on what brand of setup you buy to shift your transmission. I mean, you could spend $10 and just try it. Just saying, all you need is a plug off an old, cut the end off your wiring harness off the junkyard or something, get you one of these plugs and just run 3 wires and try it. If you don't like it, spend $600-700, however much money that crap is. If you do like it, you just saved a bunch of money. You ain't gonna lose nothing. So a lot of people disagree with everything I just said, but you know what? I've done it a bunch of times and it works. So, obviously not responsible for any damages, meaning like if you're going 100 miles an hour down the highway and you pull it into first gear, yes, it will go into first gear at that speed, and yes, you will break stuff. You're not going to like what happens if you do that, so just beware of that. It will go into whatever gear you put it into, so don't go first gear, second gear, first gear, or you have rods hanging out the side of your engine block. So yeah, that's enough for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That does seem to maybe possibly help the channel. I have no idea. So it might not. Yeah. So I'm going to get back to working on this thing. I got to fix my transmission controller right now because the problems I've had in the past are coming back to haunt me again. So I want this thing to be right. My grandpa's coming into town and I want to be able to go cruising around in it. So y'all take her easy and I'll see you in the next video.